From dominating the silver screen to diving into politics, these are 20 famous actors then versus now. Let's kick things off with a man who became a real-life action hero. Did you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger went from flexing his muscles in the Terminator to flexing his political influence as the governor of California? Yes, the Governator didn't just save the world on screen, he tried to do it in real life too. But before all that, Arnie was crushing it with blockbusters like Predator and Conan the Barbarian. With his iconic catchphrases and larger-than-life presence, he was untouchable. And even now, after all these years, he's still back, taking on roles that give a nod to his epic past while also branching out into environmental activism and even voice acting. When it comes to longevity, this guy's career is a masterclass. Now, speaking of careers that span decades, let's talk about the Italian stallion himself, Sylvester Stallone. From Rocky to Rambo, this guy has been punching and shooting his way through Hollywood for decades. Did you know that Sly not only starred in but also wrote and directed many of his films? Talk about a triple threat. And he's still in the game, leading the charge with the Expendables series, where he's assembled an all-star team of action legends. And let's not forget his return as Rocky Balboa in the Creed movies, showing that even after all these years, he's still got that fighting spirit. Sly's career isn't just about action, it's about heart. Next up is the wisecracking everyman who changed the action genre, Bruce Willis. Bruce brought something new to the table with Die Hard, a hero who wasn't all brawn but had brains and a serious sense of humor. Even though he's recently stepped away from acting due to health issues, Bruce's legacy is cemented. From Pulp Fiction to The Fifth Element, he's given us some of the most memorable performances in cinema. His path from a TV star to an action icon is the stuff of legends. Now shifting gears to the road warrior himself, Mel Gibson. Mel started with a bang in Mad Max, then turned up the heat with Lethal Weapon. He wasn't just a star, he was a force of nature on screen. And when he stepped behind the camera, he didn't miss a beat, directing classics like Braveheart and The Passion of the Christ. Sure, he's had his share of controversies, but that hasn't stopped him from staying in the game. These days, he's taking on darker, more complex roles, showing that he's still got the chops. Whether he's in front of or behind the camera, Mel's influence on Hollywood is undeniable. As we continue, let's take a look at a star who's had an out-of-this-world career, Harrison Ford. Did you know that Harrison Ford became one of the highest-grossing actors of all time thanks to two iconic roles? Yes, we're talking about Han Solo and Indiana Jones. Ford didn't just play these characters, he owned them. Whether he was smuggling goods across the galaxy in the Millennium Falcon or cracking a whip while dodging giant boulders, Ford brought charm, wit, and a whole lot of swagger. Star Wars and Indiana Jones didn't just make Ford a star, they made him a legend. Even as he got older, Ford didn't slow down. He's still going strong, returning as Han Solo in The Force Awakens and gearing up for another adventure as Indiana Jones. But that's not all. Ford isn't just revisiting old roles. He's adding new ones to his legacy, proving that age is just a number when you're as iconic as he is. Now let's turn our attention to the muscles from Brussels, Jean-Claude Van Damme. This guy wasn't just an action star, he was a martial arts phenomenon. Did you know that Van Damme's splits became as famous as his roundhouse kicks? Starting with Bloodsport and Kickboxer, Van Damme kicked, punched, and flipped his way to the top. His movies weren't just about the fights though. They showcased his incredible athleticism, his charisma, and that trademark smirk that let you know he was about to deliver a world of pain to the bad guys. But the 90s weren't kind to every action star, and Van Damme's career took a dip, until he made one of the greatest comebacks in action history. He reinvented himself with JCVD, playing a version of himself that was raw, emotional, and brutally honest. This was a Van Damme we'd never seen before, and it showed that he was more than just high kicks and hard punches. Today, Van Damme still headlines action flicks, often taking on darker, more complex roles. He even embraced his villainous side in The Expendables 2, going toe-to-toe with some of the biggest names in the genre. Van Damme's path from martial arts superstar to introspective actor shows that he's still kicking, and kicking hard. Now, we can't talk about kicking hard without mentioning the man, the myth, the meme, Chuck Norris. You might know him as the guy who can divide by zero or roundhouse kick anyone into next week. But before the memes, Norris was a bona fide action legend. Starting with Way of the Dragon alongside Bruce Lee, Norris proved he could hang with the best. Then came The Octagon, Delta Force, and of course, Walker, Texas Ranger. For 8 seasons, Norris laid down the law on screen, becoming the ultimate symbol of American toughness. But here's the crazy part. Chuck Norris didn't just fade away like some other stars. Thanks to the Chuck Norris facts meme, he became even more famous, taking on a new kind of cultural significance. Even now, Norris makes the occasional appearance in commercials or small roles, keeping his tough guy image alive. And outside of Hollywood, he's focused on giving back, with philanthropy and martial arts instruction taking up much of his time. Chuck Norris isn't just an action star, he's an icon whose legacy has transcended the screen, becoming a part of pop culture that will last forever. And now, let's not forget about the original giant of the action genre, Dolph Lundgren. This guy towered over his competition, literally. Did you know that Lundgren has a master's degree in chemical engineering? But instead of pursuing a career in science, he decided to use his 6'5" frame and brains to crush it in Hollywood. His breakout role as Ivan Drago in Rocky IV was the stuff of legend. "I must break you" became one of the most memorable lines in movie history, and Lundgren became the ultimate 80s action villain. But Lundgren wasn't just about playing the bad guy. He went on to star in Masters of the Universe, Red Scorpion, The Punisher, and more, proving that he could be just as heroic as he was villainous. And unlike some action stars, Lundgren has kept himself in the game, reprising his role as Drago in Creed II and kicking butt in the Expendables series. But here's the twist. Lundgren isn't just an actor, he's also a director and producer. He's shown that he's got the smarts and the skills to stay relevant in an ever-changing industry, taking on projects that span from blockbuster action flicks to indie dramas. Dolph Lundgren isn't just a tough guy. He's a Renaissance man who's still out there proving that brains and brawn can go hand in hand. Now, moving on to another icon of the genre, Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal is in a league of his own. With a background in Aikido, Seagal didn't just fight, he flowed. His movies like Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, and Under Siege had a different vibe. A vibe that was all about precision, efficiency, and a level of calm that made him seem almost untouchable. Seagal's early films weren't about the flashy stuff, they were about cold, hard action. And his characters weren't just tough, they were unbreakable. But let's be real, Seagal's career has taken some hits. He's faced controversies and drifted into the direct-to-video market, but that hasn't stopped him from doing what he does best, staying true to the stoic, unstoppable persona that made him a star. Today, Seagal might not be headlining Hollywood blockbusters, but he's still out there, releasing films, maintaining a loyal fan base, and staying true to the brand he built in the late 80s and early 90s. In a world where action stars come and go, Seagal's commitment to his style is a testament to his staying power. Shifting gears to another legend in the action genre, Tom Cruise has spent decades pushing the boundaries of what it means to be an action star. And first, let's talk about his early days. Back in 1986, Top Gun turned Cruise into a global icon, but it was Mission: Impossible in 1996 that really set the tone for his career. The guy isn't just about playing the hero, he's about being the hero. Did you know Cruise insists on doing his own stunts? Yeah, that means everything from hanging off the side of a plane to jumping out of one at 25,000 feet. This dedication has made him a legend. And even now, in his 60s, Cruise is still flying high, breaking box office records with Top Gun, Maverick, and cranking out more. Mission: Impossible films. The dude is unstoppable. Next, let's highlight a master of combining action with comedy. Jackie Chan has been the king of action for decades. It all started with his unique blend of martial arts and slapstick humor in the 1980s. Films like Drunken Master and Police Story made him a household name. But it was the Rush Hour series that introduced him to Western audiences in a big way. Chan's not just about throwing punches, he's about making you laugh while he does it. Even now, though he's dialed back the crazy stunts, he's still going strong, taking on more serious roles and producing films. Chan's legacy? Revolutionizing the action genre with a smile. Continuing with another martial arts legend. Jet Li has carved out a legendary career in martial arts cinema. It all kicked off in the 90s with his breakout role in Once Upon a Time in China. But Hollywood came knocking, and Lee delivered in Lethal Weapon 4, showing off his skills as a villain. He followed it up with hits like Romeo Must Die and Kiss of the Dragon. Lee's moves? Flawless. These days, he's slowed down a bit, taking on less physically demanding roles, like his recent appearance in Mulan. But his legacy as a martial arts icon is set in stone. And now, let's talk about an actor who's not just surfing waves but bending reality. Keanu Reeves is an action star who stood the test of time. First, there was Point Break, but it was The Matrix that made him a legend. Neo's bullet-dodging, mind-bending moves were unforgettable. Then came John Wick, and suddenly, Reeves was back in the game, redefining the action genre once again. His commitment to intense physical training and performing his own stunts is what sets him apart. With more John Wick films on the way, Keanu's not slowing down anytime soon. And now, let's not forget about a trailblazer who's breaking barriers in action cinema. Michelle Yeoh has been breaking barriers since the 80s. She started as a beauty queen but quickly transitioned into action, with films like Yes, Madam and Police Story 3. Her big international break? Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, a perfect blend of action and drama. Now she's still kicking butt but with more variety, starring in everything from Star Trek, Discovery to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeoh's impact on action cinema? Unmatched, showing that women can lead the charge in the action genre. Now, we can't overlook a legend in martial arts cinema. Donnie Yen has mastered the art of martial arts cinema like few others. But first, let's rewind to where it all began. Donnie Yen started making waves in Hong Kong action films during the 1990s, but it was his role as Ip Man that really made him a legend. Playing the Wing Chun Grandmaster, Yen didn't just perform fight scenes, he created art in motion. His precision, fluidity, and intensity in every punch, block, and kick made audiences sit up and take notice. Yen wasn't just acting, he was living and breathing martial arts on screen. And even though he's now a global superstar, he hasn't forgotten his roots. Yen has seamlessly transitioned to Hollywood, appearing in blockbusters like Rogue One and John Wick, Chapter 4. But here's the thing, he's still committed to promoting Chinese martial arts. Whether he's on set or behind the scenes choreographing fights, Yen ensures that the authenticity and spirit of martial arts remain front and center. His legacy? It's not just about the stunts, it's about honoring the traditions that built his career. Now, let's close with an icon who has been breaking the mold for decades. Sammo Hung has been redefining what it means to be an action star for decades. You've got to know where he came from. Sammo Hung wasn't your typical action hero. With a portly frame that defied expectations, he stunned audiences with his agility and martial arts prowess. In the 70s and 80s, he became a staple in Hong Kong cinema, bringing a unique mix of comedy and choreography to the table. Collaborating with Jackie Chan and Yuen Biao, Hung created some of the most beloved action comedies like Project A and Wheels on Meals, films that are still celebrated today, but Hung didn't stop there. He's still making an impact, but these days, it's mostly behind the camera. As a director, producer, and choreographer, Hung continues to shape the world of martial arts cinema. His work has influenced generations of action stars, and his legacy as a pioneer who blended traditional martial arts with innovative storytelling remains unmatched. Sammo Hung didn't just change the game, he rewrote the rulebook. Now, from the streets of London to the heights of Hollywood, Jason Statham took a different route to becoming one of Hollywood's toughest action stars. It all started with a bang. Statham burst onto the scene in the early 2000s with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and The Transporter. His background as a competitive diver and martial artist gave him an edge. He wasn't just acting tough, he was tough. Statham became known for his no-nonsense attitude, high-octane car chases, and bone-crunching fight scenes. Whether he was taking down villains or outrunning the law, Statham brought an authenticity to his roles that made him a fan favorite. And guess what? He's only gotten bigger. Today, Statham is a staple in major franchises like Fast and Furious and The Expendables. His partnership with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in Hobbs & Shaw only solidified his status as an action heavyweight. But it's not just about the brawn. Statham's also shown he can deliver humor and depth, all while staying true to his gritty roots. In a world full of pretenders, Statham is the real deal, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. Now let's journey from the small village fights to global domination. Tony Jaa redefined what it means to be a martial arts star. But let's take it back. It all started with Ong Bak, Muay Thai warrior in 2003. Jaa's explosive athleticism and use of traditional Muay Thai techniques set him apart from everyone else. He didn't rely on wires or CGI. What you saw on screen was real. Every punch, every kick, every leap was Jaa, giving it his all. The result? Some of the most intense, jaw-dropping fight scenes ever captured on film. Following up with Tom Yum Goong, Jaa solidified his status as a martial arts icon. But Jaa didn't stop there. He's since expanded into Hollywood, starring in major films like Furious 7 and Triple Threat. While he's taken on more diverse roles, he hasn't strayed from his roots, continuing to deliver high-octane action that fans love. Tony Jaa isn't just a martial artist, he's a force of nature, and he's still kicking his way to the top. And now, from lightning-fast strikes to deep philosophy, Bruce Lee wasn't just an action star, he was a global icon who redefined martial arts cinema. But before we dive into his legacy, let's take it back to where it all started. Bruce Lee's meteoric rise began in the early 70s with films like The Big Boss and Enter the Dragon. These movies didn't just showcase martial arts, they revolutionized the genre. Lee didn't just bring martial arts to the big screen, he made it a worldwide phenomenon. His philosophy of Jeet Kune Do wasn't just about fighting, it was about adaptability, efficiency, and breaking free from traditional limitations. Lee's combination of charisma, speed, and intensity was unparalleled. He broke down cultural barriers, turning martial arts into a global movement and cementing his status as an international superstar. But here's the kicker. Even though Bruce Lee passed away at just 32, his influence has only expanded. His films remain timeless classics, and his teachings continue to inspire new generations of martial artists, actors, and fans. From documentaries to biopics, video games, and even digital recreations, Bruce Lee's legacy is more vibrant than ever. He wasn't just a star, he was a legend who forever changed the world of cinema and martial arts. His impact? Unstoppable, and it's here to stay. From historic martial artists to the strongest men in Hollywood, these were 20 famous actors then vs now.